Welcome back, guys. This is Return to Tennis. I'm Aaron. Thanks for returning. So what do we got today? Well, a little retro action. We're going to have a two-part series here. We got some older rackets that we've been swinging, that we've been enjoying. A lot of them probably a bit too heavy for me to continue playing, although they feel great on contact with the ball, but they are a lot of weight. We got three up for today. We're going to start with three today. Let's start with the newest of the group. I got this on eBay. It's in bad shape. It is a Dunlop Hot Melt 200G. The grip was an absolute disaster. I had to completely strip it. I just put a replacement grip, not a replacement grip, but an over grip over top of the pallet. Butt cap's gone. I don't know what was the deal with this. This is the second one of these I've got. The first one I got was actually, it was the wrong racket. It was a 26-inch racket. I sent it back, and it was filthy. It was absolutely just ruined and covered in this sticky grime. So this one looked really great in the pictures. It showed up, and it was covered in the same sticky black tar-like material. And where it was coming from was the original grip that was on it. Was some kind of weird Babolat. It was nasty. When I peeled it off, it turned my palms of my hands black. It took forever to wash off. But I've heard a lot of good things about this racket. We're going to get out and give it a swing, see how it feels. I'm not sure what it's strung with. The strings are in pretty good shape, though. The racket itself is not great in terms of condition. I'm glad I didn't pay very much, but we'll see how it feels. You know, who knows? A little heavy. So from that was like 2004 that the Dunlop was around. So we're going to go way back now. We're going to go almost 20 years or more back. And we're going to go all the way back to this beautiful racket right here. This is a Puma Onyx Sabre, right? Now, word is this was created to compete with the Pro Staff 6.0 back in the 80s. I'm going to guess it's a graphite fiberglass frame. I got this new old stock. This came in mint condition, not a scratch on it, had never been strung. I did have to change the grip out. It was the old leather grip. It was kind of deteriorated. Still had the plastic on it. Has the cover. I've got the cover for it. It's a gorgeous racket. I expect it to be probably a bit more flexible than a Pro Staff 6.0 of that era, but probably not as flexible as the other Puma rackets I have been hitting. So I'm really excited. I've hit this a little bit. It's a 95 square inch racket. I have no specs on this. If anybody out there knows any specs on this frame, please put them in the comments down below. I talked to a couple collectors. Nobody was able to really tell me very much. So this is number 2 on our list today. Now this third one's unique. I didn't even know what I was looking at when I first saw pictures of it. I got it for the price of a song. I mean, it was like 20 bucks. Old racket, very old racket. I sent pictures of this to collectors to see if anyone recognized it. No one could tell me anything about this. It has a very odd shape to it compared to others. It is a Prokenix. It is a graphite. It has that weird, let me see if I can get it back, weird almost egg-like shape that you would see in the Pumas and the Stuza rackets of the 80s. It is called a Dominator GT. Now, the Dominator was a series of rackets that Prokenix made, and they had kind of like an elongated oval-shaped head. I think it was like their attempt to try to compete with the Yonex isometric head without being isometric. Not in bad shape for its age. It's got some scuffing on the head, but overall the paint's in good shape. This racket is a monster. It is with the strings and an overgrip. It is at 361 grams. I've never swung a racket this heavy. This is not something I will play. We're going to hit it today just to see how it feels. I think it's about a 95 square inch, maybe a 90. I don't know. Let's see how it compares. Yeah, it's about a 95. It's a 95 square inch. It's about the same size as the Onyx Sabre. but massively heavy racket. As I said, I sent pictures of this to collectors I've come across through Instagram, guys that have massive collections of rackets. They've been collecting rackets for decades. They had never seen this thing. They did not know what it was. This very well could just have been like a Kmart off-the-shelf special pre-strung. As you can see, it has the old Kenix logo still painted on the strings. It is a graphite. It is a graphite composite. It's just a very odd shape. It's almost like a, I don't know, like a Puma Yonex Nisel hybrid. It's weird, but it is unique, so I'm glad I got it for like 20 bucks, $25. So it's nice to just have in the collection as something that's a bit unique. We're gonna get out, we're gonna try these out today. As I said, this is part 1. We will have a part 2 probably next week. Let's hit the courts. Okay guys, we're gonna start things off with the Dunlop Hot Melt 200G, the black and yellow 95 square inch. Solid feeling racket. I mean, I didn't restring it. I've noticed that my backhands have predominantly become a very consistent and reliable shot for me, more so than my forehands. The racket felt good. I just wish it was in better physical condition. It's pretty bad shape. This is the first time I've ever hit a racket that was missing a butt cap. And then prior to this, I would have never had guessed that a butt cap made that much of a difference when I was holding the racket. It felt very awkward to keep the racket in my hand. Like my hand wanted to slip off the bottom of it. Didn't restring this. I'm hitting it strung as is. It was still a fairly solid feeling frame. Pretty stable. Came through the air pretty good. The only issue would be that if I was to think about playing this, I'd have to regrip it. Not a big deal, but I would also have to find a butt cap that fit. And when I say butt cap, I don't mean it's missing, the cap off the bottom. I mean the whole butt cap is gone. There's nothing down there. It's just a straight shaft now, which is a little uncomfortable when swinging. But not a horrible racket. I mean, it's a pretty good piece of work from Dunlop. Once I get a little bit of a groove with it, felt solid. Not a lot of vibration coming off the frame. This one's sitting probably somewhere in the high 330s, I think, is what it measured out at. But of course, it's missing a little weight because of a lack of a grip and a butt cap on it. Comfortable. It is a lower RA. That was a nice ball. But overall, I kind of liked it. Is it going to go in the bag? No, it's not. I think Dunlop kind of messed up here in the production of this racket, in that the original grip they used on it, once it started to deteriorate, it became a sticky mess, and then it would just mar up the entire frame. Yeah, they just there's a little bit of an aesthetic and a quality issue there, but it's okay. It's not. I would say it's comparable to the muscle weave we've hit, but I think I might like the muscle weave a little bit better. But not a bad frame overall. There we go. That was a decent one. Trying to get the machine to shut off. We're gonna move on. Let's move on to the next frame. So again, Dunlop Hot Melt 200. Next we have, from about 1986, the Puma Onyx Sabre. Now, crazy enough, I picked this up new old stock, still in the plastic, $30. From what like I said earlier, I think it was designed to try to compete with the Pro Staff. It's definitely more stiff than other Puma rackets that I've hit, which would be more of like the Boris Becker designed frames, but it's not as stiff as a Pro Staff. I'd say it's probably around a 63 or a 64. It kind of feels like. Very heavy though, 350 grams. That's that 12-ounce range for us here in America with our goofy system. That's like RF97 weight. It is headlight, but again, I can't be positive on the specs because no one I've messaged about this racket has specs. I couldn't find anything out. So if there's anybody out there, if you have specs on this racket or some more information, please share it in the comments. I'd like a little bit more info on it. It is a hefty stick. Due to all that mass, it's really stable. It's really solid. Doesn't really have any vibration coming out of the frame. But it's a lot of weight. And sometimes I felt like I was late coming through the ball, like right there. Just prepping the racket because of how heavy it is. Now, as much as I struggle with this, I did like the feel of it overall. I just don't think it's something I'm going to be able to use on a regular basis. I probably will keep it in the bag though, because it is fun to pull out and hit once in a while. Comfortable, like I said, no vibration. I strung it with Ohm's Alu Pearl rough at I think 50, I want to say 52 pounds, because I had no idea what to string it at. There's no specs on it, so it might be a little low. But it's a beautiful racket. I'm glad I found one in mint condition. And it comes through the ball really heavy. They're getting late. I just cannot prep this frame like I want to with that weight. And full disclosure, 3 days before hitting, I seriously wrenched my elbow. So I'm actually in quite a bit of pain hitting these right now with these heavy frames. I'm going to end up taking the next probably 10 days off from hitting entirely and just focus on ice and treatment on my arm, because I wrenched it playing with my Astuza that I love so much. But again, too much weight for my arm to handle. There's a good ball. There's another. See, once you get it, if I get it prepped in time, I can come through it pretty good. But it's so much weight to try to bring around that you can't be late with this racket. It's not at all. Too much. But beautiful. And our final racket for the day, I'm going to start backhands with two hands this time. Coming in at a whopping 361 grams. That's, I think, in that 13-ounce range. The Prokenix Dominator GT. This is another one I did not restring. It's a much older frame. Extremely thin beam. Graphite. 95 square inch. But other than that, I don't know the flex rating. I don't know the recommended string tension. I don't know the production year. I mean, no one I talked to had even seen one of these, let alone even heard of it. I talked to some collectors that had heard of the Dominator line of rackets from Prokenix back in the 80s, but they had never seen this one. Super heavy. I am extremely late on a lot of these balls, especially when we switch to the forehand side. Yeah. It's like trying to swing a bat around. There we got one. If I get it back in time and can come through the ball on, on target, it's a pretty good feeling racket, but it's just too much weight. That kind of weight is just ridiculous to think people would play back then. But I guess wooden rackets were even heavier. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, it feels more flexible than the Puma does. So it may be in an RA range of 60 or below. But it's really hard for me to get a reading on it and how it feels because of how much weight I'm trying to pull around to get that ball over there. And not be late. That's the biggest problem I have, is just constantly feeling like late like that. I hit some of them two-handed as well because this racket was really stressing my arm out to try to maneuver it. It's just too much. But again, if anyone out there has some info on this frame, some spec information, please let me know. It's one of those that I couldn't find anything. Couldn't even find a second one of them anywhere. Just this was the only one. I picked this up for like 25 bucks, I think, on eBay. It's a good little find. I'm glad I had grabbed it. Overall, the frame's in pretty good shape. But that's going to be it for me, guys. My arm is not going to take much more of this. Get off the couch, get on the courts.
Way too heavy.
We'll see you next time.